They didn't just kill her, they erased her. Every statue shattered, every inscription chiseled away, every image gouged from temple walls across an entire empire. Imagine being so powerful, so threatening, that even after your death, someone spent decades hunting down your very name, trying to unmake you from history itself. For nearly 3,000 years, it worked. She vanished. A ghost pharaoh, a blank space where a ruler once stood. And the man who did it, he ruled for 30 years after she was gone, wearing her legacy like a stolen crown, building monuments to himself on top of hers. This is the story of Hatshepsut, the most powerful pharaoh ancient Egypt ever produced, and the extraordinary lengths taken to ensure you would never know she existed. The year is 1478 BCE. Egypt is at the height of the New Kingdom, the most glorious era in its 3,000-year history. The empire stretches from the shores of the Euphrates in the north to the jungles of Nubia in the south. Gold pours in from conquered lands. Trade routes flow with myrrh, ebony, ivory. The temples of Karnak gleam white and red under the merciless sun. Egypt is the center of the known world, and at its center sits a woman. Her name is Hatshepsut, daughter of Pharaoh Thutmose, one of Egypt's greatest warrior kings. She was raised in the royal court, educated in statecraft, religion, and warfare. She understood power not as something given, but as something taken. When her father died, she married her half-brother Thutmose II, as was custom. She became his great royal wife. But Thutmose II was weak, sickly, unremarkable. Ancient records barely mention him. When he died after just a few years on the throne, Egypt was left in the hands of a child, his son, by a lesser wife. A boy named Thutmose III. He was perhaps 2 years old. Hatshepsut was appointed regent. She would rule in his name until he came of age. That was the plan. It was not what happened. Within 2 years, Hatshepsut declared herself Pharaoh of Egypt. Not regent, not advisor. Pharaoh. She wore the double crown. She carried the crook and flail. She strapped on the false beard of kingship. She took every symbol of male royal authority and wore them without apology. This had never happened before. Not like this. There have been female rulers in Egypt's past, brief shadows in the historical record, but none had seized power so deliberately, so completely, or held it for so long. For over 20 years, Hatshepsut ruled the most powerful civilization on earth. And she didn't just rule. She transformed Egypt. Under her reign, the empire didn't wage endless war. She chose trade instead, and that single decision changed the ancient world. In approximately 1470 BCE, she launched the most celebrated trading expedition in Egyptian history, a voyage to the mysterious land of Punt. We still aren't entirely sure where Punt was. Somalia, perhaps, or Eritrea. The Egyptians called it the land of the gods. Hatshepsut sent 5 massive ships carrying soldiers, sailors, and merchants down the Red Sea coast into the unknown. They came back loaded with living myrrh trees, ebony logs, gold, ivory, incense, and exotic animals. The entire expedition was carved in extraordinary detail onto the walls of her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri. She wanted the world to remember. She needed the world to remember, because Hatshepsut understood something that her enemies did not. Power is not just armies and gold. Power is narrative. Power is the story people tell about you after you're gone. She built on a scale that stunned even the Egyptians. Her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri, carved directly into the limestone cliffs on the west bank of Thebes, is considered one of the architectural masterpieces of the ancient world. 3 colonnaded terraces rising toward the cliff face, elegant and precise, centuries ahead of its time. She erected 2 massive obelisks at the Temple of Karnak, plating them in electrum, a gold-silver alloy, so they blazed like fire in the Egyptian sun and could be seen for miles across the Nile Valley. One of those obelisks still stands today. It is the tallest surviving obelisk in Egypt, still carrying her name, still defying the man who tried to destroy it. She governed with a genius advisor at her side. His name was Senenmut. He was not of noble birth, He rose from obscurity to become the most powerful official in Egypt, the steward of Ammonius, tutor to Hatshepsut's daughter Neferur, and the architect of some of the greatest building projects of the age. The relationship between Hatshepsut and Senenmut has fascinated historians for a century. Ancient graffiti found near Deir el-Bahari depicts the two in intimate positions. Whether they were lovers, we cannot say with certainty. What we know is this: he was devoted to her completely, and then, like her, he vanished from the record. His tomb was left unfinished, his statues defaced, his name removed. He disappeared from history alongside her, which tells you everything about who the enemy was and how personal the destruction truly was. Thutmose III had been waiting. For 20 years, he had existed in her shadow, a co-ruler in name only, a boy king turned military commander who served the empire but never led it. We don't know exactly what happened between them. The records are silent on the tension because the records were later edited. What we know is that around 1457 BC, Hatshepsut disappears from history. No record of her death. No grand tomb prepared with the care her legacy deserved. She was gone, and Thutmose III finally became pharaoh in full. He turned out to be extraordinary, the Napoleon of ancient Egypt, historians would later call him. He launched 17 military campaigns in 20 years, pushing Egypt's borders further than they had ever reached. He was a brilliant tactician, a visionary leader, and under his reign, Egypt reached the absolute peak of its imperial power. He was, by almost any measure, a great pharaoh. And yet, approximately 20 years after Hatshepsut's death, he gave an order that has haunted history ever since. Erasure. Workers were sent to every temple, every monument, every obelisk she had ever touched. Her images were chiseled from walls. Her cartouches, the oval rings containing a pharaoh's royal name, were hacked out of stone. Her statues were torn down, smashed, and buried in a pit near Deir el-Bahari. Thousands of fragments, deliberately hidden. In some places, her image was replaced with that of Thutmose I or Thutmose II, as though she had never stood between them. The Punt expedition that she had commissioned, it was quietly reattributed. Her obelisks at Karnak were not destroyed, perhaps because the task was too enormous, but they were walled up, encased in stone so that her inscriptions could not be read. Why? Why wait 20 years? Why not erase her immediately? Some historians believe Thutmose waited until the last people who remembered her rule, her loyal officials, her priests, her courtiers had died. Then he moved, quietly, systematically, not in rage, but in cold, deliberate calculation. He wasn't trying to punish her. He was trying to protect his dynasty. In Egyptian theology, a pharaoh needed their name spoken to survive in the afterlife. To erase the name was to kill the soul a second time. To remove the image was to unmake the person from the cosmic record entirely. Hatshepsut was not just being forgotten. She was being unmade, and it nearly worked. For 3,000 years, she was gone. Historians studying the New Kingdom saw a strange gap, an inexplicable missing period where Egypt's records were confused, contradictory, incomplete. They found temples with chiseled walls. They found statues buried in pits. But the name, the face, the story, all of it was missing. It wasn't until 1822 that the decipherment of hieroglyphics began to unlock Egypt's written record. And it wasn't until 1903 that British archaeologist Howard Carter, the same man who would later discover Tutankhamun's tomb, excavated the pit near Deir el-Bahari and found thousands of smashed statue fragments. He had no idea what he was looking at. The fragments were shipped to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, where they sat in storage for decades. It took until the 1920s and 1930s for Egyptologist Herbert Winlock to begin piecing the puzzle together, literally reassembling the shattered statues fragment by fragment, matching the inscriptions, rebuilding the face. And slowly, she emerged from the rubble. First as a mystery, then as a revelation. A pharaoh who had been deliberately hidden. A woman whose power had been so threatening that even 3,500 years ago, someone with enormous resources spent years trying to erase her from existence. Today, Hatshepsut's mummy rests in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. She was identified in 2007 through a remarkable piece of forensic archaeology. A loose tooth found in a canopic box bearing her name was matched to a mummy that had been misidentified and overlooked for over a century. She was found in a side chamber, unlabeled, essentially tossed aside. Even in death, someone had tried to make sure she wouldn't be found. The tooth fit. The DNA confirmed it. She was in her 50s when she died, suffering from bone cancer, diabetes, and a skin condition. She had not died in violence. She had died as an old woman who had ruled one of the greatest empires in human history. Her mortuary temple still stands at Deir el-Bahri, and if you visit it today, you can see the places where her image once was, the smooth, blank stones where a chisel erased her face, the empty cartouches where her name once rang out across the stone. But you can also see where the chisels couldn't reach, high up on the walls, in the deep shadows of inner chambers, in places the workers didn't bother with. Her face is still there, still watching, still present after 35 centuries. Hatshepsut built an empire in stone and sent her name into eternity. A man with all the power of Egypt tried to silence her. And here we are, thousands of years later, speaking her name, while his efforts to destroy her are the very reason we remember her at all. Perhaps the greatest irony of ancient history is this: the erasure didn't work. It became the story, and the story made her immortal. Some names cannot be unmade.